This is Jude here with Limitless Education Group, and today I want to speak on 3 words specifically: freedom, security, and choice. What do those actually mean? And in looking at the definition, how can we apply that to ourselves and our lives to get the most out of ourselves and our lives? Of course, all these words mean different things to different people, and even hearing these words, I'm sure you immediately conjure up images of maybe going on vacation, of not having any responsibilities, being able to relax and do whatever you want in this life or in this day, in this world, right? But to be able to understand these words is to fully be able to live them. And so we'll start with the first one. What is freedom? When you hear that, or when a person hears that, the image that most immediately might come to their mind is removal of limitation, right? No matter what's going on in the outside world, I still have the ability to go out and do whatever it is that I want. In reality, freedom though is the ability to be free from dumb, okay? Free from dumb. And so within that, what does that really mean? Your freedom is your education, right? The amount of information that you have about the world and your ability to create something with that information. Because think about it. Even if you have, no physical limitation, the fact that you are limited mentally would stop you from being able to realize a lot of the stuff that you would want to do in the world. So free from dumb is in the essence what it means to be free. Because imagine when you have an education, when you have the ability to step out your front door, go anywhere because you have the physical capability, and then talk to anybody about anything. The world is your oyster at that point. Your world is open. Nobody can tell you what's right or what is wrong for your day, right? Because you have the ability to communicate and go and create. That is true freedom, but that starts with your education. Right? Now, security. I mean, take a couple seconds and think to yourself, what is coming up when you hear this word security? That can mean a couple different things too. Maybe that means my house is safe, my family is safe, my belongings are safe. On the flip side, it could have a financial connotation to it. Like, I have enough money to be able to get a jam if I needed to. I have the ability to pay for whatever I need to whenever I want, so that I have a feeling of security, right? Tying it to that financial aspect, most people find security in, again, something outside of themselves. Most people would find security in, say, a job. And the thing with jobs is that you don't own the cash flow. You don't own when the money is coming. You have a habituation because of how society has conditioned us to believe that jobs are a sense of financial security. But at any day, the boss could fire you. Any day, they could have new technology coming in to be able to automate or replace the work that you're doing. At any day, the stock market could crash. And because of that, now your business or your job, the business that you're working for, has to start consolidating its workers. And so is that a real sense of security? In our mind, we've convinced ourselves that is because somebody is feeding us. But true security comes from self-confidence. True security comes from self-esteem. The knowingness within yourself that any day I wake up, I have, again, the ability to go and create for myself, not having to rely on external circumstances, external environments, the external world to say, hey, this is what you can do today because of the conditions and limitations that are surrounding the current market, right? Or the current environment that you're in. True security starts with self, and that starts with again, going back to freedom, it's connected to freedom, but our ability to have confidence in the way that we are able to learn new things, okay? And lastly, choice. Choice is interesting because it sounds like freedom, right? But is it exactly freedom? Choice comes from having the ability to actually decide what it is that you would want to be doing, how it is that you would want to spend your day. And again, the distinction between freedom and choice is that freedom is an educational perspective. Choice is a physical, environmental perspective, right? In our world, we've been led to believe that we have choice, but that's again a false sense of security, a false sense of choice. Because I can ask you, hey, I can ask you a question in one of two ways. I can ask you, what do you want to eat? Or I can ask you, do you want chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream? In both contexts, I'm asking you what you want, but in the second context, I'm limiting your choice. And so that you are forced to choose either chocolate or vanilla. So anything that you choose, you're still getting ice cream, right? Versus in the first, you could have the choice to pick anything that your heart would desire, your mind could conjure up. And so in the world that we live in today, we've been led to believe that we actually have a choice, that we have the ability to, go out and create what we want. We have the potential to go out and live our life to the fullest extent, right? But the problem with choice, I won't say the problem, but what comes with choice is consequence, right? You could choose not to do anything every single day, just lay in bed, watch movies, watch TV, but that will compile a consequence, right? Because at the end of the month, if you haven't worked, how are you going to be able to pay for your lifestyle? How are you going to pay for your expenses? How are you going to be able to continue to survive if you chose not to contribute, right? So choice is a physical thing. It's our physical ability to decide how we want to spend the education, or how we want to manifest, or I'll say create with the education that we have gotten through our freedom. Okay, and this all is important because of where the world is heading today, right? Between AI, automation, all different sorts of technologies, what's happening in the political sphere, right? The economic sphere, everything is changing very quickly, right? And so a lot of our choices are being more limited. A lot of our security is being more limited. A lot of our freedoms are being limited and suppressed. And so since the world is rapidly changing, what is most important today is our ability to be able to tap back into our education, right? And be able to develop a real education, right? What is a real education? Let's say we lived in a world where every single day you woke up, you're in a complete new environment. So, let's say today we are in New York, okay? But when we wake up the next day, we're no longer in New York, but we're in the middle of the desert in Afghanistan, okay? And what's the difference between New York and Afghanistan? Right? In New York, there's a bunch of buildings, there's a city, a lot of people walking around. Afghanistan is more desert-like, isn't it? So what's the difference between finding food in New York and Afghanistan? In New York, you go to the bodega, you grab a sandwich off of the shelf, or the grocer or the butcher will make you a sandwich. You take that, you pay for that, you go back to your apartment, sit down and have a nice meal. In Afghanistan, let's say you're in the middle of the desert, middle of nowhere, how do you find food? You have to learn how to hunt, right? Hunt for snakes, hunt for wild animals, wild boar, whatever the case may be. How do you find water? You have to learn how to be able to extract that from a cactus, or extract it from a rock, or however they do it. I don't even know, right? But the key point is that you would have to be able to learn new skills to be able to survive in that environment. So then let's say the next day, let's say you survived that night in the desert, right? The next day you woke up and now you're suddenly in the Arctic tundra, right? In some remote part of Mongolia, okay? Now finding food in the desert versus Mongolia come two completely different atmospheres, right? The desert was extremely hot. Now we're moving over to Mongolia where it is super, well, there's parts of it that are very, very cold, right? So now you have water everywhere, but how do you access it? You have to learn how to extract it from the ice. So you have to learn how to make fire, how to process it, how to melt it, how to store it, right? Same thing with finding food. You're no longer in New York, you're no longer in the desert, right? So you can't go to the grocery store, you can't hunt for animals. Now you have to learn how to fish unless you want to figure out how to fight a polar bear, right? So that is, again, learning a new skill, learning new skills rapidly to be able to survive in that environment. So that when you're moving between worlds, moving between environments, moving between areas, you still have the freedom to be able to do what you want with your life in that state. You still have the security, knowing that, oh, I'm not going to die today because I don't know how to be able to find food or water or shelter, and the choice to say, okay, I can move in a couple, like the whole world is open to me. Which direction should I move in to be able to get towards what I want? And so that's the real essence of those worlds. And the way that our world is designed today, it's been programming us with different images, movies, TV, media of what freedom, what those words look like. Is that sitting on the beach, having a drink with no responsibilities in the world, right? Not really. You still have a consequence. And so yeah, I just want to make this video for y'all, for us to start dissecting those words and thinking about what that means in our own lives, and how we can start to really understand that, integrate that, and apply that so that we can still have the best outcome in our life, so that you can still have the best life that you want to live. It's been awesome talking to you today. Looking forward to catching up again soon. This is Jude, again with Limitless Education Group. If you thought something was interesting in this video, comment down below. We'd love to respond to your comments and keep the discussion going. Okay, talk soon.